we dipped our toe in the water in 2018 with medical cannabis. Then Pennsylvania also had the research pilot program for industrial hemp. So later in 2018 into early 2019, we started banking for the industrial hemp research pilot program. So it was the different growers across Pennsylvania.
That's certified cannabis banking professional Ashley Hess with Jonestown Bank in Pennsylvania. This is the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. My name is Eric Herlock, and today I will talk to Ashley Hess about the issues surrounding cannabis banking, which includes both industrial hemp and medical cannabis. I'll also check in with Kelly Kundratek from Team PA, the group that is hosting the 2021 Pennsylvania Hemp Summit, which is coming up in the beginning of November. This episode is brought to you in part by I&D Hemp in Montana. Check them out at indhemp.com to learn more about the goodness of hemp. So I am here with Kelly Kundratek from Team PA. We're here to talk about the 2021 Pennsylvania Hemp Summit. Hi, Kelly. How are you?
Hey, Eric. I'm great. How are you?
Doing okay. Welcome back to our hemp podcast. It's good to talk to you again.
Glad to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, so the Pennsylvania Hemp Summit is coming up in less than 2 weeks. So I thought you should come on the show and tell us what we have to look forward to this year.
Yeah, thanks so much for thinking of us. Thanks for having us. Always great to partner with Lancaster Farming in the wonderful world of hemp. So we are planning another year of the Pennsylvania Hemp Summit this year. We have had to pivot that to a virtual education series for a number of reasons that I will not exhaustively get into, but I think people can understand that. And we're definitely looking forward to a really informative education series virtually.
Good. Well, tell me about it. What can we look forward to?
Sure. So we have 3 days planned in the original footprint of our dates. So if you had those marked on your calendars for the in-person, you get to sit at home and do this virtually at home. November 2nd, 3rd, and 4th is coming up rather quickly. And we'll do 2 educational panels each day. So one in mid-morning, one in mid-afternoon. And you can go about your day between them and come back and be ready and engaged for some educational sessions.
Oh, good. Okay. Can you give us sort of a hint as to maybe some of the speakers?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Eric, you'll be moderating our first panel that kicks off our summit. And that'll be all about the resources that all farmers should know, but specifically farmers that are engaged or looking to get into farming hemp.
Okay.
We have some topics that are a panel that's based on hemp for animal feed and talking all about that opportunity and the nutrition prospect for that. We'll also hear from some of our state and federal policymakers on some of the updates that have been going on in the regulatory realm regarding hemp. And also some stuff about the processing capacity and opportunities in Pennsylvania and some of the fiber opportunities beyond Pennsylvania that we should be taking a look at.
Oh, good.
And certainly don't want to miss the very important conversations around Delta 8. We know that is really at the forefront of what people are really talking about in the CBD realm and the hemp-derived THCs. So want to make sure that we're commenting on that too.
Good. Sounds like you've got a lot covered there.
It'll definitely be an action-packed 3 days.
Good. Okay. And then will there also be a chance for some networking? I know that was an important part of past summits.
Yeah, so we've really integrated the networking portion into what we've postponed the in-person portion to April. So if you're holding your dates for November, also mark down your dates for April. That'll be April 26th and 27th for our in-person networking, trade show, and reception to be held at Lancaster Convention Center.
Okay, great. And where should folks go to sign up for the summit this year?
Of course, all the important information that you can find is on pahempsummit.com. Feel free to reach out to us through there if there's any questions, but registration can be found right at that website.
All right, great. I'll put a link on our show page at lancasterfarming.com for that too.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Is there anything else we should know about the summit this year?
I think that about covers it for the summit this year, but we are looking towards 2022 being a brighter year. And not just with the in-person trade show and reception that we're planning for April, but we are planning on getting a full summit back together in person for November 2022. So look forward to that. We'll be talking about those dates during our virtual education sessions and previewing that event a little bit more. But save the month of November for next year too.
Okay, that'll be here before we know it. All right, well, Kelly Kondratek from Team PA, thank you so much for your time today. We're looking forward to another excellent summit, and we'll see you virtually in a couple of weeks.
Likewise, thank you so much, Eric. Thanks for all you do.
That's Kelly Kondratek from Team PA, the organization that is bringing you the third annual Pennsylvania Hemp Summit, starting on November 2nd this year. And like she said, go to pahempsummit.com for more information, for registration, and all those things. All right, moving on, we're going to talk to Ashley Hess. She is a certified cannabis banking professional. She's with Jonestown Bank, and one of their specialties here in Pennsylvania is cannabis banking. All right, here we go. Ashley Hess from Jonestown Bank and Trust. Welcome to the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, Eric?
I'm doing okay, thanks. So there's lots to talk about in the world of cannabis banking. But first, could you give us a short introduction?
Sure. So as you already mentioned, my name is Ashley Hess. I work for Jonestown Bank and Trust Company. I am the cannabis banking manager at JBT. We shorten Jonestown Bank and Trust Company to JBT. I have been with JBT since 2016 and actively in the cannabis banking role since March of 2018. So really have some years of experience in the cannabis industry and excited to talk to you today about that.
Cool. Yeah. So first, can you sort of give us the lay of the land here in Pennsylvania? Like what different sort of cannabis constituents are you dealing with, as clients?
Sure. So JBT, we initially started as banking the cannabis industry, mainly focusing on the medical marijuana side. So medical marijuana has been legal in Pennsylvania since 2016 is when the law was signed. So we dipped our toe in the water in 2018 with medical cannabis. Then Pennsylvania also had the research pilot program for industrial hemp. So later in 2018 into early 2019, we started banking. And by banking, I mean we opened deposit relationships for the industrial hemp research pilot program. So it was the different growers across Pennsylvania. Then when the Farm Bill was legalized in 2018, legalized industrial hemp completely as a farm commodity, then we started opening that up to more of the growers in Pennsylvania, more of the processors as processors became licensed under Pennsylvania. And then also it brought in the CBD network. Mm-hmm. So all of the hemp derived CBD. So we are also offering relationships to anybody that is a wholesaler of CBD products or anything of that nature.
All right. So everybody knows, I think everybody knows that cannabis industry has problems with in financial services. What is at the core of that from your perspective?
Yeah, so especially from the medical marijuana side, marijuana is still a Schedule I federally illegal substance. So a lot of banks are federally regulated, JBT included. We get the best of both worlds. We are both state regulated and also federally regulated. But FinCEN came out with guidance in 2014 that gave banks the ability to bank the cannabis industry, medical marijuana specifically. They outlined some different priorities that could be followed. So JBT as a whole, we decided to take that step forward. Even though we knew we were going to have to do enhanced due diligence and extra work, they actually created the whole program prior to having our first client onboarded. So JBT really took that initial step and put the money behind it prior to making any dollars off of this industry as a whole. That's where a lot of banks come in. I mean, Bank Secrecy Act, the BSA departments of a bank are a very non-income generating part of a bank. So what would a bank rather do? They would rather build a branch and onboard more clients right away instead of paying for those back office positions. JBT kind of took that opposite approach and funded it prior and then allowed for the expansion, building it from the ground up instead of adding resources after we already had too many clients and kind of doing it the wrong way. So that's why a lot of banks are scared of it. They just don't understand what the program would fully need to entail. And also just the difference, even when hemp was legalized, because it's still that cannabis sativa L strain, they still hear that cannabis name in that strain. So they just don't want anything to do with it. They're just afraid their regulators are going to come in, shut them down, not allow them to have any relationships with that industry.
That seems crazy. From what I understand, the medical dispensaries here in Pennsylvania are all cash-based, right?
That is correct, yes.
And that's got to be so stressful for the people working there, the people shopping there, the people running the place, just to be having to deal with cash all the time.
Absolutely. I mean, what store do you typically go to where you're buying $100 worth of product and you can't just swipe your card?
Right.
I mean, and nobody carries cash. That's why a lot of the dispensaries have ATMs directly on site. So maybe their patients don't have to use their bring the cash in from outside, and then they're able to withdraw it there and hand it to the people as they're
Right.
checking out.
But the only
still,
people that's good for
difference.
there are the people owning those ATM machines, right? Like where
Correct,
they're getting
yeah.
like the $4 service fee or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
that
But yes,
seems
it is
crazy.
very cash intensive. Now, with the grower processors in Pennsylvania, the majority of the dispensaries in Pennsylvania are banked. They have a banking relationship with a bank, some of them with us, of course. They are being paid by the dispensaries through like checks and ACH transactions or wire transactions. So the grower processors aren't as cash intensive
Sure.
compared to the dispensaries.
Yeah. Still frustrating though, to like, you need a reliable place to put your money and to borrow. And
Absolutely. And I mean, on the daily sales, I mean, sales can be anywhere from a couple thousand a day to 10 to 20,000 a day. So that buildup of cash over the course of a few days can really be
like it create a
interesting to
security
deal
risk,
with it as well. Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. Huh. But you yourself, you're a certified cannabis banking professional. All right,
Correct.
that's amazing. I love that that's a job and that's a title and that's a profession. So tell me what is that? What did you have to do in order to achieve that?
Yeah, so it was actually a completely online based study. So there is an organization called ICS. It stands for Integrated Compliance Solutions. They partnered with another online based company called CBank. It's a resource that a lot of banks can log in to ask questions to different peers. They partnered together and came out with this certification. So when the certification came out 2 years ago, I immediately took that to my supervisor and said, hey, like this is something that we really should look into. I think it adds that extra layer of expertise to our department here at JBT. So what it was a 14 lesson course. So it was do your own pace. You could do one lesson a day. You could do 3 lessons a day. Each one was between an hour to an hour and a half. It was online content. They went through different slides. They gave the introduction of cannabis, knowing the differences between hemp and marijuana. If you wanted to develop a banking program, what kind of steps you needed to check off in order to get that. And at the end of each of those modules, then there was a quiz. You had to get a passing score on each of those quizzes to advance to the next level. So I was able to complete that over the course of, I'd say, about a month. Just logging in and spare time. At the moment, I was the only person in our department here at JBT for this. So just kind of did it as time allowed. And then in order to maintain the credits, I have to listen to one webinar each quarter over the next 2 years to accumulate 8 credits to maintain that certification.
Right.
So it is an ongoing certification as well.
Cool. So do you still get a lot of farmers coming in who are saying that they're going to be getting into hemp, and talk about some of the relationships you have with farmers in the area?
Yeah, so it's been a little bit different. We're seeing more of the processors coming on right now, since processors were the new one licensed under the Department of Agriculture. We are seeing a lot more processors. Some of the farmers that we've talked to, they've scaled back their operations in some regards just because they went full blown in the first year as soon as they could, and then realized that they didn't have anybody to necessarily be able to sell all that product to get it processed, to get it to the market. So they've scaled back. So we are seeing some different growers coming on here in Lebanon County. So that's been a nice change. Before we were primarily focused in Lancaster. So we are seeing some come in Lebanon now. So that's been really good. But yeah, we're seeing a mix of both the growers that are first-time growers. Maybe they were doing other crops prior, or maybe this was just something that they wanted to try because they've seen health benefits from using CBD products on their own from personal experience. So they kind of wanted to get into that to help others as well.
Cool. So what, like, let's say I was a first time hemp grower and I came into your bank. What sort of services or products could you offer me?
Yeah, absolutely. So we could open any type of checking account that JBT offers. We have two different business checking accounts that we offer to all clients. So that is something that we do offer to the hemp industry as well. With that, we give the online banking, we give the debit card. The only thing that we haven't really been able to help as much with in the hemp marketplace right now has been the merchant services. Unfortunately, that's a little bit of a gray area for a lot of merchant services. We are constantly looking at different partnerships, but we haven't been able to offer one directly.
What is merchant services? Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, so merchant services would be that somebody could swipe a credit card at your business
Oh, okay.
location, or
Yep.
they could use it as their web-based form of payment, but through like a Shopify link, they would be able to add that in through that service as well. So merchant services is the acceptance of credit cards. And unfortunately, the merchant services are still kind of associating the hemp with marijuana. So we're only seeing very few companies getting into it. And then even then, sometimes we're seeing clients get kicked out because they're like, oh, no, we don't want to deal with that now. You have hemp in your name or you have cannabis in the name of your business. It's just very unfortunate for these businesses. They're starting out, all of a sudden they lose that relationship and then their sales stop. And then what are they supposed to do?
Right. Yeah. Do you think legalizing marijuana for recreational use in Pennsylvania would be a benefit to your company, or how would that affect things for you?
Yeah, I think we would kind of keep going with the status quo. If recreational adult use marijuana is legalized in Pennsylvania, I think we would be willing to take a look at these businesses as they are established. It would really depend how the law is written, if they would be able to have the same clients that are currently servicing the medical industry and have a separate entrance for the adult use industry, or if they would be completely separate licenses. I know there's been a lot of talk recently. Some new legislation is actually coming out again with Pennsylvania to go the adult use market, but I just don't know if we'll really see much traction on that in the next like 1 to 2 years. I mean, I hope I'm wrong with that, but I think JBT, because we are currently utilizing the medical market as clients, I think it's this natural step in the progression to be able to go into that adult use market as well.
Okay. Is there any federal legislation that you're keeping an eye on? Because there was like the Safe Banking Act going through. I'm not sure what the status of that is, but maybe you can tell me.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. So the Safe Banking Act was introduced through 5 different legislative sessions. Unfortunately, it has gone through the House all 5 of those times, but the Senate, it's kind of been a dead on arrival type thing.
What's holding it up there?
There's a lot of different things. A lot of the senators that you're seeing in the Senate, they are saying they would rather see restorative justice in those. They want to see the community that was harmed by the war on drugs
Sure.
kind of progress through that. It's been, I don't know if that's necessarily the appropriate time for that. I mean, the banking is the banking side of it. So if you want to get into that restorative justice, there's a time and a place for that. I don't know that that's necessarily within the banking. It could be maybe a subset of it, but in order to get the banking side of it, all we want to do is have regulators tell us what we're able to do.
Right, right. You got to admit there is some, I don't even know what the word is, but you see a lot of like rich white people making a ton of money off of legal marijuana, where
Absolutely.
communities of color for generations now have been decimated by these war on drug laws.
Yes, yeah, you're
It's
absolutely
crazy.
right. And I think there really does have to have some legislative action within it, but I think it could be separate from the banking side of it. I don't necessarily think the two kind of go hand in hand. I think that could come through a separate bill in a separate way, even as they go to legalize marijuana from federal. I mean, the MORE Act also passed through the state. That is a fully descheduling of cannabis. So that is something that we're keeping an eye on as well.
Sure.
If that happens, we're going to see the credit card companies come on board, and that will eliminate some of the cash problems that we see in the dispensaries. We'll have Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, all of
just
them
like a
wanting
regular
to be getting
business
that
at that point.
interchange.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think those types of things, the the justice side of things, I think that can be covered within those bills, not necessarily all within the banking. The banks just want to see our regulators come out with ways to show us that what we're doing is correct.
Okay. I wasn't sure if Mitch McConnell was holding this bill up to
industrial hemp,
or if there was somebody else involved.
It's actually Cory Booker has said that he will not sign off on it prior to seeing some of that justice happening to the communities of color that have been affected by the war on drugs.
Right, absolutely. I think that's a really important area of conversation that probably deserves, at the very least, its own podcast episode. So let's change gears a little bit. And why don't you tell me where people can go to find out more about JBT and the cannabis banking services you offer?
So JBT is located across Lebanon, Lancaster, and Berks counties in South Central Pennsylvania. So any of our branch locations, if you would go into one of those, they can start you on the process to getting in touch with our cannabis banking department. We also have a website. It is www.jbt.bank, BANK/cannabis-industry.
Okay, I'll put a link to that on the website. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, that will take you directly to our landing page. We have a contact us part right on that page as well, where you can specify if it is medical cannabis or if it is the hemp industry. And then one of my team members or myself would reach out to you to have that initial conversation.
Okay. So you wouldn't recommend people just show up in an office with a big bundle of hemp and a bag of cash?
No, that's usually not a good idea.
All right. Well, Ashley Hess, is there anything else we should talk about for your role in as a certified cannabis banking professional? Something else we can cover? No?
Not that I'm aware of. No, I mean, just that I'm proud of JBT for taking the stance in this industry and really opening its doors to this medical cannabis industry and also this hemp industry, where a lot of banks will just shut down those accounts as soon as there's any type of hearsay about their involvement in this industry, whether it be the legal hemp side or the medical cannabis. So I'm proud that JBT has taken those first steps forward and really is being a trailblazer in this industry. And we're happy to help all clients as they see needs. If you're with a bank right now and you are previously farming corn or soybeans and you've decided to delve into hemp, notification of your bank is very important as well. Don't let them find out before you notify them that you're in the hemp industry.
Oh, that's good advice. Yeah.
You will really see a lot of banks are just scared of it and they will automatically close your account. When they close your account, you're kind of at that 30-day window where what about your outstanding checks? What about your deposits? Then you have to rush to find a banking account. It's very important for self-disclosure, and that's why we've been there, and we are happy to help anybody that does run into those circumstances with having a bank closed, and let us help you.
How about folks who are out of state?
Yeah, so the neighboring states to Pennsylvania, we are starting to dip our toe in the water because we are we are only located in Pennsylvania. We mainly would like to focus on the Pennsylvania market. That's what a community bank does. They focus on the markets that they are involved in, but we have been looking outside of the state as we are able.
Okay.
So it's definitely worth a conversation. If you are out of state and listening to this and we could help you, feel free to reach out.
Cool. All right. Well, Ashley Hess from Jonestown Bank, thank you very much for your time today. It's great talking to you.
Yep. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it.
All right, well, that does it for today's show. Thank you all very much for listening. My name is Eric Herlock. I'm the digital editor at Lancaster Farming Newspaper, the greatest agricultural newspaper in the world. And hey, speaking of Lancaster Farming, in this week's edition, the October 23rd edition, there's a special hemp section. It's about 8 pages. It's got a bunch of different stories. There's a commentary from Erica Stark from the National Hemp Association, something from Steve Groff about the hope of hemp. And I did a recap of our tour. I sort of focused on all of our stops that we made this past summer, so be sure to check that out. And there's also a really neat piece about the Project PA Hemp Home. So pick up a copy wherever you get Lancaster Farming Newspaper. Check us out online too, because I'll have those stories up there as well. And hey, if you want to get in touch with me, you can drop me a line, send it to podcast@lancasterfarming.com, or even call and leave me a message, 717-721-4462. All right, Thank you. Until next time, I'll see you in the newspaper. This episode of the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast is copyright 2021 by Lancaster Farming Newspaper, part of the Steinman Communications family. Today's show was written and recorded, edited, and produced by Eric Herlock, and any music you hear throughout the show is courtesy of Tin Bird Shadow.